Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Chair.
You can hear me? Okay, you can hear me. Good. Welcome to RBKC's Licensing Subcommittee, which is being held via Microsoft Teams and is also being live streamed. Today, we are considering objections from the police and environmental health to a proposed 10 for Flat A, 39 to 41 Oxford Gardens, London W10 5UF. I'm Councillor Janet Evans, and I will be chairing this meeting. I have no declarations to declare in relation to this item. I am joined by Councillors David Lindsay and Councillor Linda Wade. Councillors, can you please introduce yourself and confirm whether or not you have any declarations to make?
Councillor David Lindsay, no declarations to make.
Councillor Linda Wade, no declarations to make.
Thank you. And we are also joined by Paul Phelan from the Council's licensing team, our legal advisor, Horatio Chance, and our committee members, committee officers, Nima Mahudin, Daniela Healy. Thank you. The quorum for this meeting is 2. As there is always the possibility that I may lose connection temporarily during the broadcast, I am nominating Councillor Lindsay to be appointed as the substitute chair. Please confirm whether this nomination is seconded, Councillor Wade.
Seconded.
Thank you very much indeed. I confirm that Councillor Lindsay has been appointed substitute chair. Thank you, colleagues. Before we start the hearing, there are a few ground rules. Please keep your microphone on mute until you are invited to speak. Please make sure mobile phones are on silent. Please do not use the Microsoft Teams chat function as it is not monitored. Everyone should have received the procedure for this meeting regarding the use of cameras and how to connect back in if you lose connection. Thank you. Nima Mahudin, can you please run through the list of the people wishing to speak today?
Thank you, Chair. We have Mr. John Mills, the premises user, who'll be speaking today, along with Jasmine Dorset, who will also be speaking in support of his 10. We have Philip Richardson from RBKC Noise and Nuisance, who will also be speaking, along with PC Janelle Caldinez and David Graham from the police.
Thank you very much. The procedure of the meeting has been circulated with the papers. However, in summary, I confirm. Firstly, the licensing officer, Paul Phelan, will give a brief outline of the 10. Then I will ask the premises user, Mr. John Mills, to present his submission. He will have up to a maximum of 10 minutes to do so. And Ms. Dorset, is she speaking on your behalf?
Yes.
Yes, second.
She will be speaking.
Okay. Legal advisor, as long as she speaks on his behalf, it's acceptable to come in at the last minute. Is that correct?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Questions may then be asked of the premises user by the committee, the police, environmental health, and our legal advisor. Then I will ask David Graham, counsel for the police, to present his objection. He will have up to a maximum of 10 minutes to do so. He is joined by PC Janelle Caldinez, who may be able to assist the committee if they have any questions. Questions may then be asked by the police, by the committee, the premises user, and our legal advisor. Then I will ask Philip Richardson for environmental health to present his objection. He will have up to a maximum of 10 minutes to do so. Questions may then be asked of environmental health by the committee, the premises user, and our legal advisor. Finally, I would turn to the governance team to see if any issues have been raised that we need to consider. There'll be no summing up, and the committee will then adjourn for 10 minutes to make our decision. We will reconvene to verbally announce the decision today, and it will then be confirmed in writing within 5 working days. The full reasoned decision will be issued as soon as possible thereafter. I would like to remind everyone that the committee has read the papers, which comprises the main pack, including any additional submissions, so there is no need to repeat their content. Please do draw our attention to certain points and pages. Let's get going. Paul Phelan, please can you outline the 10 for us? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Mr. John Mills has submitted a temporary event notice for a temporary licensable event to be held on Sunday the 24th and Monday the 25th of August 2025 between the hours of midday and 7 p.m. each day. Mr. Mill proposes to use the front entrance area of Flat A 39 to 41 Oxford Gardens to provide apologies all, to provide sales of alcohol for consumption off the premises. A copy of the temporary event notice, event plan and risk assessment can be found at Appendix A of today's report. This notification has attracted an objection from PC Janelle Caldenez of the Metropolitan Police on the grounds of the Prevention of Crime and Disorder and Public Safety. A summary of this representation is provided on pages 5 to 6 of the report, with the full objection attached at Appendix B. Additionally, Mr. Philip Richardson, a Principal Environmental Health Officer for RBKC Noise and Nuisance, has objected on the grounds of public safety. Just to make you aware, Chair, the report makes reference to public nuisance being one of the objectives that Mr. Richardson has detailed when he submitted his objection, but that is incorrect. The objection relates to the grounds of public safety only. A summary of his representation is included on page 6 of the report, with the full objection attached to Appendix C. Extracts from the Council Statement of Licensing Policy are attached at Appendix D, and the premises is located within Golborne Ward. A map of the area is attached as Appendix E, with a list of licensed premises within the vicinity at Appendix F. A map of the 2024 Carnival footprint, including the parade route, location of sound system, bars, street trading sites, safe areas, and other matters is attached as Appendix G. For clarity, Chair, this is for illustrative purposes only, as a map for 2025 has yet to be finalised. A list of temporary event notices received so far for this year's Carnival is attached as Appendix H. This excludes notices which have been withdrawn or issued with a counter notice. Some of the notices may also be under consideration still, Chair. Finally, I can confirm that 2 additional documents were circulated at the request of the police. These documents show a map of Sector 2, along with supporting crime statistics. That effectively concludes a summary of this notification. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Mills and Ms. Dorset, please can you present your submission and advise if there has been any additional documentation sent to the council. You have 10 minutes. Do they have 10 minutes each or 10 minutes together?
That's 10 minutes together, Madam Chair. It's your legal advisor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Can you turn the camera on? Where are you? There you
camera
are.
is on. You still, the screen is still on. The 10 was was sent to you as requested for Mr. John Mills, as he applied for a 10 last year and it was granted. As stated in his application, the consumption of alcohol and the selling of food would be outside his home, causing no disruption to the revelers that are already going to be on the street. As you've clearly identified, there is going to be a sound system to the right-hand side of his premises. The sound system itself is placed onto the pavement, which means there's no footfall running along the pavement itself. The footfall is, as people walk through, is on the main road. In terms of crime, it is Carnival, and the minimizer of crime and policing is down to the police. The selling of alcohol to the sound systems, as you've clearly identified, that are already on the street. we feel does not actually constitute any increase in crime. In regards to public safety, we believe also that the fact remains that actually we're in a good position, because if there's a situation coming through or if there's a problem, Mr. Mills is a resident of Oxford Gardens and is enabled to accommodate until assistance, be it paramedics, be it the police, arrive. I'm unsure of the objections, as we've gone first. I'm only hearing the outline, but in terms of what the police and the noise nuisance is carnival. There is always going to be noise, something else that Mr. Mills cannot contain. In terms of crime, as we've stated before, it's carnival, that's a policing issue. So the selling of alcohol and the selling of food is not going to increase the risk of crime or risk of safety to others. Mr. Mills is a resident of Oxford Gardens and a resident of Ladbroke Grove, has been within the carnival for nearly 40 years. And quite frankly, what he is trying to do is to also bring some money back into the community by the sales that he has made. The sales will go to contribute to financing workshops and other activities for young people.
Thank you. And Mr. Mills, did you want to speak as well?
Yeah, what I would like to say is I've lived at that address for 30 years and Carnival has been there for 30 years. We've never had a problem. The police has never, ever attended that address during Carnival for any problem whatsoever. The street, Oxford Garden Street, yes, it gets crowded, but there's never been any reports of any problem. If there is a report, we'd like to hear it, because Oxford Garden, I consider to be a safe street. Mm-hmm. There's never been any violence or any robbery or anything on Oxford Gardens. I've never seen or heard of any reports of it. So in terms of crime or the police fear of crime or the council or anyone's fear of crime, that has to be taken to another situation, to another place, not Oxford Gardens. The serving of drinks, there's food, there's everything being served on the road. So I myself selling drinks on Oxford Gardens shouldn't increase the footfall or any disturbance, because everything, it's already there and there has never been any problem. In the 30 years that I've been living in that particular address, there's never been a problem on the street.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. Any questions from the committee? Councillor Lindsay?
Mr. Mills, I wonder whether you could just talk briefly through your risk assessment, a copy of which is Appendix A on page, in our papers, page 14 and 15. And in particular, if you could expand on, you've got 4 risk ratings of high, but I'd love to know a little bit more about what you're proposing to do about it, because
what's can you I haven't got the copy. Can you okay. Crowd management likelihood, is the likelihood high? If it's crowd management, impact, major, control, barriers. Well, that should be medium. And go through.
I'm not particularly interested in the medium ones, not because they're important, but because they're less important than the high ones. I mean, if you could, how many?
So the crowd management, how is that high? Because in terms of crowd management, that crowd is not going to be any more than what is already on the street. If you are then providing a service to those revelers who are listening to the music. So it's not going to be any different. If a risk assessment was carried out anyway, they would risk that as high because for the footfall of people. But we, in sense of Mr. Mills, it doesn't add to that at all.
Can we look at security high? How
right,
many
security.
Sorry. Can I just finish off my question, please?
So sorry.
Thank
okay,
you.
so sorry.
how many trained personnel have you got, and are they all SIA qualified?
Go ahead.
I've got two that is SIA qualified, but to be honest with you, because it's my premises and the way the sound system and the sound system is set up, we've got barriers that allows very few people towards where I'm serving.
Mm.
Hello?
Okay. Thank you for that. And alcohol is a high risk, and I'm sure the police are concerned about the consumption of alcohol generally at the carnival, and their concern and Mr. Richardson's concern is to minimize risk.
And that's understandable. And we will be selling drinks because at the end of the day, we'll be selling drinks to those individuals. If they are intoxicated, then we would not be selling them drinks. If they are we won't be selling drinks to anybody who is underage. We've been doing carnival for a long time, and quite frankly, most people who culturally that understand carnival drink sensibly because they want to be able to enjoy the rest of the day. So if anybody is at that stage, we wouldn't be selling them alcohol, because at the end of the day, what we don't want to do is have a disturbance in carnival. We've seen it. So we want to try to minimize that risk by ensuring that we are selling it responsibly to those individuals and monitoring and observing what is going on around us before we sell.
But I'd also like to point out, like I stated before, carnival is not new to Oxford Gardens. It's been on Oxford Gardens as long as carnival has been about, and we've never had that problem. I don't know why this arises, because if there's been any report or anyone else that did an assessment on Oxford Gardens or any of the other streets, then they would say this place is volatile, this place is not suitable, but nothing like that. That Oxford Garden is a very safe place, and the crowd, it's the same crowd every year. Nothing changes. It's the same people come there every single year for the last 30 years.
And may I also add that the police most definitely would also be carrying out a risk assessment, so they know the high risk areas. They would highlight that. They would already know where they're going to depart their officers. This has been going. We've been part of that. We've also they were part of that talks with the police. So we know for sure that they have identified areas that are high risk, which will have the most police presence and police footfall. If there's something has changed and we now have a report that now has identified Oxford Gardens as a high risk area, then that would be great for us to have a look at. But as far as we know, Oxford Gardens is not a high risk area. In fact,
can I just point out, directly across the street from my address is where all the carnival security and the licensing officers and everyone assembles. So I am in a perfect position. There should never be this situation where risk assessment or where there's a possibility of problems. All the officers and licensing people assemble directly across the road from my house. So that is why I think I'm in a prime position for a license, because I have the offices exactly on my premises almost.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay.
Councillor Wade, did you have a question?
Yes, sorry about that. Yes, I have several questions that I hope you'll be able to answer. Do you know who owns the freehold of your property, 3941 Oxford Gardens? You're on mute.
so sorry.
Okay. Notting Hill Housing Trust owns the property.
All right, thank you. Did you ask permission of the freeholder?
Notting Hill Housing Trust, as far as we're aware, you are not unable to use your premises inside your premises for a business. However, you can use the outside of your home.
Well, I mean, the reason why I asked that is because this is, how many flats are there in this building?
6.
All right.
Seven.
All right. And did you consult with the other residents, and what steps would you take to ensure that you could actually make people could get in and out of the property?
Well, I'll go back. Everyone in the building and the neighbors to the right and to the left of me, I am in conversation with them all the time, and we all Carnival Day. 2 of my neighbors go away for Carnival, and the ones who are there take part in the Carnival. That's in my building. The next door building, which is I'm 43, I'm also in conversation with them. We all revel during the Carnival.
All
so
right.
I didn't only look at my building, I looked at the other buildings to both sides of me, right and left side of me.
All right, so I'm looking at the front of your building, and I just wonder, where are you going to place your bar?
Okay.
Well, by the gate.
By the gate. So, are you intend?
Do we have any pictures that can be put up?
Yeah, I think we need a picture of the front of the building. Is that possible, governance?
Yes, of course. My colleague will get that up for you now. Apologies, Chair. We're just busy finding it now.
Yeah, I think that's worth waiting for. We need to have a look at this.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Yes, okay.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
no.
Okay,
There you go.
thank you.
You'll be serving.
All right. So, the reason why I ask is I'd like to know where you're going to put the bar. You mentioned that you're going to put it up against the railings.
Behind you. That's it, by the way.
That's not my. If you got what's the same? Where's my?
It's the double. It's the one with the. Mr. Mills, would you like to try and identify the one from the picture? But sometimes the address comes up differently, but to the view that we're looking at. Would you like to identify the property that you live in? Is it the one with the blue door? The blue front door in this map?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm looking at this, and the 2 bin stores on either side of the gate. So presumably you're going to put your bar up to the railing, are you? Where are you going to put your bar? Mr. Mills?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yes, sorry. The bar will be behind me. I will be in front and taking the drinks from behind me and serving it over the railings.
All right. So are you aware that if you sell something, I think perhaps you can correct me, governance, but I understood if it's sold, but it's sold over the railings, that would need a trading license? Can somebody clarify that?
I think that would be a question for the licensing team.
All right, so I just think we need clarification on that. But also, you're saying that you're going to only have 4 people at a time. How are you going to be able to control it? And where they're going to sit on the steps, or are you going to provide seating? And could you just expand on that?
No. What's going to happen? People are moving. They're buying their drinks and they're moving on. It's carnival. People are partying. They're moving to different spots. So they'll buy something and move. If you attend a shop, you go to the shop, you buy something and you move along.
All right. So sorry, forgive me, but I thought it said maximum number of people allowed at any
No.
Four.
No.
All right. No, just asking the question. It's always better to ask a question than not. Now, what type of alcohol are you going to be selling?
Basically beers and rum punch.
And how are you going to make this rum punch? Are you going to make it at home, or is it one of your special recipes?
No, I'm going to buy it in.
All right. So you're going to buy rum punch commercially.
Yeah.
So do you know what proof it is?
It's on the can. I've got one. It's 12%.
All right. Thank you very much. I think that Mr. Phelan had his hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Wade. Just to clarify that street trading may be, a licence for a street trading permission may be required when a public highway is used. So, for example, if that's for sales, queues or signage, perhaps Mr. Horatio might be able to clarify if I've mistakenly interpreted that. But that is my understanding of the point in which a street trading licence is required.
All right. So how are you going to sell it? Are you going to be selling it in plastic cups, or how are you going to sell this alcohol?
Cans and cups.
And the cups will be plastic?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mills and Ms. Dorset. I have a question or two. On this risk assessment on page 14, who did this risk assessment? The one that you enclosed. Yeah. There's a contact, but I was wondering who did it. Was it you? Was it NHC or?
Myself. Sorry, can you hear me? So sorry. It was
Yes.
myself, and the reason why we looked at that and how the ratings were based on how you would deem it. So that's why we did it like this.
Okay. So since you
Mhm.
Go on.
So if you took the activities are high because obviously there's lots of stuff going around on that particular day. So if we looked at first aid, it's meaning we've got there's going to be trained people on there. If you look at the weather, well, it's medium, we can't forecast that. If we looked at the alcohol, and we looked at high, there's going to be a lot of, and high in terms of a lot of alcohol, but as we say, controlled sales and monitoring. So for everything, I then looked at what would be the risk and how would we then counteract that risk. And that was in light if we ever had to come across something like this that we could explain.
Okay, I was just wondering because you seemed to, when you were going through it, crowd management, you wrote risk assessment high, but you seem to not think so. So do you not agree with your own findings on this?
No, it's high. Of course, it's going to be risk assessment of crowd. It's carnival. There's always going to be, if the police look at this, they would still deem that as high. It's always going to be a high risk because you have crowd and crowd control. It's what measures you put in place to ensure that you will then minimize that particular risk. The minimization of that risk at this particular time would be the barriers. It'd be silly for me not to say that it's not going to be high, because then it would come back and say, of course it's high. You have a large footfall of people coming through on 2 days for those 2 days.
Right. Now, did you say you would have you agreed you'd have 2 SIAs?
Yes.
But we also have
Sorry?
But we also have the security, the stewards. We also have the security along
Yeah.
Oxford Gardens
Mhm.
and stewards, and many of which we know. So
The ones
that's
from
another.
Notting Hill Carnival, you mean?
Exactly that.
Okay.
And they're
all right,
releasing
okay.
the head. We are in touch with the head steward, CIA officer who has trained over 100 of his own staff, not stewards, who will be on the roads at different points.
Right. Now, would you agree or disagree that there are anticipated risks, not just the obvious ones?
No, but this is the thing. This is the thing. The whole carnival. Anywhere there's a crowd, there's going to be that kind. There's going to be an element of risk. So, Oxford Gardens, Cambridge Gardens, Portobello Road, Goulburn Road, Ladbroke Grove, wherever it is, wherever anyone, where you got a crowd of people, there's going to be an element of risk.
Same as if it was a football match.
Yeah.
I live next to a football ground. There's still an element of risk when they're coming out at the time, if they're intoxicated and drinking and coming out. So there's always going to be that. But it's how do you minimize that risk, and what measures you put in place to ensure that you recognize the risk and to try to minimize it as much as possible. As clearly identified, we have SIA. We're in control. We're in contact with those people, SIA, that are managing the whole of Carnival. We're also, as Mr. Mills explained, that you have the licensing committee across the road. You have the gathering of the police across the road. You have a footfall of police, especially up and down on that road, who should have their eyes and ears on the street to observation of any crowd control. Again, what we ask, if the police have a record of any incidents that this particular area is a high risk, then we're happy to hear it and discuss it.
Right. Okay. I understand what you're saying, of course, but there can be things that we just don't know are coming.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. We've been doing Carnival. Carnival is not something new to us. Something that we have been part of. If any of you have taken part in Carnival or seen it for what it is, we all always recognise that there's also going to be an element of risk and unidentified risks.
What I would like to say, if there's also the risk is there, but there's also the good side of it.
Yes,
Where people come, they have a drink and they enjoy the music and they enjoy. We seem to forget this part all the time. We always talk about the risk, the risk, the risk. Now, because we talk about the risk so much, I think we kind of bring it onto ourselves because people get on edge. People will stand up and think, oh, there's going to be something happening. Just like there's probably people on the committee thinking, there's an element of risk there. Something might happen. And we're encouraging this sort of thing. Well, what about the happy side of it? What about the enjoyment and the entertainment side of it? No one speaks of that, never.
And also, if any of you are part of social media and you've seen, if you have to take the time to listen to social media and the messages that the community are sending out to revelers that are coming in for those 2 days, and it's about understanding what Carnival is all about. It's not a festival. It's not something it's not a 2-day event. It's history, it's cultural. It's about respecting where you live, respecting those individuals that spent months and years trying to get organising their costumes and going out and parading for the people. There's been the director of Notting Hill Carnival has sent out a message. The community have been sending messages. We've been going on the street and talking to people. You look on your social media saying, if you haven't got respect and you don't understand the culture, please do not come. This is the message that everybody is going around telling people on those 2 days. Because for us, it's culture. For us, it's something that we want to keep and maintain. It's not about having people and all the negative press release that you get just for those 2 days. So for us, we'd ask you all to look at this in the light of what it is. Yes, we understand there's risk, just as there'd be risk in Glastonbury, just as there'd be risk in a football match, just as there would risk at any concerts. Let's put it into perspective.
There'll be risk at Wembley Stadium.
Exactly.
Anyway, there's risk everywhere. We've got to try and manage that risk.
And the best people to do that is the community. It's the community spreading that message. And Mr. Mills is part of that community and a respected member of the community. And 9 times out of 10 in a situation, community, if possible, can actually be able to deter it. We had an event on our road, All Saints Road.
Can I just say, all my life, primary school, secondary school, this is what I've lived in Notting Hill. Within where I'm living now, I've never lived more than a mile away from this address. And I've attended Carnival from 1972. And I've never encountered, yes, there've been incident in Carnival, but within our circle, our gathering, I've never encountered anything that will be reported on the TV or on the news as a violent scene.
Okay, thank you very much. Does our legal advisor have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is your legal advisor, Horatio Chance. Just to confirm the definition given by Mr. Phelan in relation to a street trading licence. So that arises when you're selling goods or providing services on a public highway or within 7 metres. Can I just go in relation to the risk assessment and event management plan? I think the problem, Mr. Mills and Miss Dorset, is the fact that whilst you have provided that particular document, it is very bare-boned. And obviously, it would have been helpful to the committee if you had just highlighted, particularly in relation to those high categories, what the narrative would have been. Because obviously the committee has to go by the application itself. Granted, you can amplify during the course of the hearing, but I think it would have been helpful if you just put a bit more meat on the bones, so to speak.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Right.
I agree.
Can I say, with this, I'm not a professional, but what I do say is that I'm very confident because of my position and because of where the actual security for the carnival is positioned. That is why I'm confident that things will be okay on my street. Because, like I said, my street is a gathering point for the police and the licensing people.
Can I just go back to your point in regards to, you say, the more meat on the bone? And I think as I would say that in terms of risk assessments as they are, looking at the space, I wasn't instructed that I needed to clarify or make better clarification in words of just barriers on what that would mean, what that would look like. If that was made a little bit more clearer to elaborate, then that is what I would have done. Because if you look at all the others, it's one word: crowd, likelihood, impact, major, ratings high. So the control measures, when I would just have put the barrier, I had no idea that I had to go into any great depth of that. So
I hear sorry to cut you. I hear what you say, but it's a matter of good common practice actually to provide a comprehensive event management plan and risk assessment. But the representations you've made during the course of the hearing will be taken into account by the members. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you made that point, but I was just thinking to myself that in any sort of assessment or something, there will always be something missed. And it seems that we've missed a point.
Yeah,
I'm glad you've mentioned it.
Thank you.
But all we can do now that you've pointed that out is make sure we cover our grounds.
Yeah, and I hear what you say, but the concern of the committee is that you have the necessary mitigation measures in place that will promote public safety and crime and disorder, and that's the legal test under the Licensing Act 2003. Thank
So
you,
you
Madam
would know
Chair.
that because as an officer, you would be quite aware of that. If you're looking at a layperson who is just doing something and filling out a form, maybe there should be a little bit more guidance of that some people can have in order when completing these forms, because many of the people are just local people, day-to-day stuff and filling out the basics. I myself did this not knowing that I needed, and in fact it's happened before. There's certain forms that you fill out, they have one question, they call you up to ask for clarification because there's no room or no instruction to say, please be quite clear on what the measures would be, what would they look like. And if that was there, I would have done that. And so again, I'm glad we've had the opportunity to clarify that. But yeah, maybe that's something that we can look in, or that you guys can look in for other people, giving them guidance on how to complete these risk assessments.
That's a
Thank
very
you.
good-
And obviously those comments will be taken away and
Thank you.
considered. But, you know, you do have sufficient time to lodge attends when it comes to Carnival. And we do encourage, you know, premise users to liaise with the Notting Hill Carnival Limited, because they can then, you know, provide the appropriate advice.
Okay, because I did speak to one of your officers at the licensing, two of them actually. One was called Jane, who gave me the instructions of how to fill it in terms of that, making sure you put the 2 days in there. No, we had until the 10th if we did it in time. So yeah, but again, this is something in hindsight that we can only move forward on this. Again,
Yeah.
something, so the license, here.
And you're always at
talked
liberty.
about the activities, they talked about the risk assessment. I've got a copy of this right. Oh, can you not see it in the book? So when I called, they highlighted that. What isn't on here for me, the risk assessment event, that's all they said to do is a template and just add the risk and the barriers. Talk about your activities. Make sure that you apply between 12 and 9. Make sure you do a start and finish date. These are the things that I had on here. So again, in hindsight, moving forward, we will look at that.
I hear what you say as a layperson, but equally, you know, you are at liberty to obtain your own independent legal advice.
Okay.
And I think that covers that point, Madam Chair. Thank
Okay,
you.
all right.
Okay, thank you. Now, the police have a question.
Thank you, Chair. So, Mr. Mills, Ms. Dorset, I don't know if you can help me, but there's been a number of references to barriers or a barrier, and under the heading of crowd management in that table, there's reference to control measures being barriers. So could you please explain what are these barriers? Where are they? Can you point to them? I don't know if we need to go back to the photograph, if one of the officers can put that back up, just to explain what you're talking about, please. That would be really helpful.
Gonna put it up? No, you're gonna put. Okay.
No, I haven't got a photo.
Is the
Can you hear
photo
me?
you're requesting the street view?
Yeah.
Well,
Please.
whatever
Okay.
would
I'll do that
most
now.
assist everyone to explain.
Okay.
I think.
I'll do that right now.
Okay, there we go.
Right. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Right. Just in front, the sound system is based to my left. Can you see the house to the left? Not that far, no, just exactly, just here, yeah. Where the car is, that's where the sound system is based, on the pavement. Now, the sound system they're required to have barriers. The barriers come out along there on both sides. It comes out on the road on both sides. So the number of people that can come into my premises is limited because they've got to pass through the barriers to come to my gate.
We've got either side. You've got a clear pathway here and then the barriers are either side.
Hello?
So just to follow up on that then, are you saying that the barriers around the sound system would are they designed to stop people coming into your premises? What exactly do you mean? Is it just around the speaker?
No. It blocks off the pavement, and it does limits the amount of people that can come into my
So you
walkway.
have free access here.
Yeah,
And then you've got the barriers here at either side.
this
And then free access.
this
here.
part here will be clear, and the barriers will be there. So it limits the amount of people that can come into the premises. And they require, the sound system are required to have barriers by law.
It isn't clear why you say, if there's a path around the side of the barriers to get into your property, why are you saying that's controlling the numbers?
Not because only a limited number of people can come into the premises because the barrier's there. You opened, there's only a small space.
So if you have the barriers either side, so you see where the lamppost is, is
Yeah.
where people
Yeah.
would then get the drinks from there, come from the
Go
back,
through there.
go through there, leave from there and come back on the streets. This is here where the revelers are. So say, for example, your revelers are here, they need a drink, they come through here, go, but where the lamppost is, they get the drink, they come back out and they go either left or they go right.
Yeah.
The barriers does not restrict, it doesn't restrict and it doesn't cause a hazard. But what it does do is give a clear space, because as you quite rightly said, you want to make sure there's access for the residents to, if they were going to come in and out of that building. But at this point, we have the fence, the gate going across. You sell the drinks, they buy the drink, they go left or they go right. It doesn't impinge, it doesn't stop. It doesn't cause the hazard. So when he's
But just
talking
to
about
be-
it,
Just to be clear, what you're saying, can we confirm then that when you refer to barriers being control measures for crowd management, they're not your barriers that you're controlling, they're whatever the sound system has put up?
Yeah.
yeah, of course.
But the sound, they're required to do that. And it actually, what it does, it's like a shield for the premises. Because the sound
All right,
system.
but what I'm going to suggest is that doesn't address the issue that we, the police, are concerned about, which is people congregating in order. Oh, can you hear me? The connection went for a second. The point that we're concerned about, and one of the main points we're concerned about, is that people intrinsically, if you're offering them something, will stop and or queue up or congregate around where you're serving or selling the alcohol.
No,
So the concern is that that is the crowd management, that is impinging on the wider dynamics of people along the street. And the concern is that what you've described isn't a control measure that you're doing. It's relying on effectively barriers in the street. And my suggestion to you is that doesn't address the point that the risk that people congregating at your premises is posing.
Okay,
hello,
wait.
we would work.
Hold on a second.
Hello, stop. Mr. Graham,
Yes.
we're going to go into your submission in a minute. I'd like you to hold your questioning here because
Okay.
you know you can put it in your submission. We just have one more question from the counselors, and then I'd like to move on to your submission, okay? So, Counselor Wade, you had some queries.
Yeah, I wonder if you could help me. I'm getting a little confused about whose sound system this is.
The sound system belongs to the carnival committee hires the sound system. It's nothing to do. I don't hire
so
the carnival committee.
All right.
Right. But we work together. They work with the residents, because if they don't work with the resident, there'd be problems. They probably won't be allowed. So we actually work with them. So we're hand in hand with the sound systems and everything that they do to have a good day, a good weekend.
All right. So following on from that, if there's a sound system that belongs to the carnival immediately outside your front door, it does kind of queuing and displacement and dispersal and pinch pointing and everything else does come. So I think that.
Can I just say, going back to that point, so it's not outside the front door, it's got a space, it's got this to either side. So the point is, even if Mr. Mills was not selling alcohol at that time, people will still congregate around there if that's what we're talking about. If you're saying that that is going to be obstruction, it will never be an obstruction because people will still congregate. But once people buy, and if you've been to Carnival and they buy their drink, they are going to move on. It's not going to be in terms of crowd control. Nobody sits outside a bar or outside where Mr. Mills tends to supply alcohol and stand. People go, they dance. People go, they will dance until there's a space, they'll get their drinks and go. If you've been to Carnival, nobody stands up behind a bar and waits. That space will have a constant flow of traffic going in and out. If at the end of the day, in fact, it's going to help it, because at the end of the day, if people are not coming through, people can just block there. Then you have a problem because people are congregated right there.
I think you'll find. Can I just say a minute? I think you'll find on every other doorstep, you'll probably find more people gathering than on my doorstep, because they're not doing or selling drinks or whatever. So people gather on those doorsteps. On my doorstep, it wouldn't be suitable for me because I'm trying to do a business there. So it wouldn't be suitable for me to have people gathering there because they would obstruct the business.
Okay,
Would you agree that some? Sorry.
Councillor Wade, did you have any more questions?
I mean, it was all right. Thank
You wanted to know basically who owns the barrier, etc. And
yes, but it was also about creating a congregation point.
Okay, so I think
I think we cleared that, because either way.
Okay, I think we've addressed the point.
Thank you.
Now get into the police objection. Mr. Graham, you have up to 10 minutes.
I'm grateful, Chair. So the headline points on this, so it was set out in PC Cardenas' submission, but the police are under considerable pressure during the 2 days of the carnival. And this year they're under particular pressure because of constraints on police budgets and resources. And so there's a very experienced team of police officers who've got between them over 150 years of combined experience policing Carnival, who every year look in great detail at the plans and the tends that come in. And the committee will know that the Notting Hill Carnival Limited are planning effectively 363 days for this event, and they are intensively drawing up detailed plans and liaising with police. And so, but the problem is that those plans cannot include these sorts of very late in the day TENS applications. And so what the police are concerned about is that when these come in, they're looked at carefully to make sure that they're not going to add to additional strain on emergency services and not cause any issues. And so we're looking to ensure that the guidance that is given by the council in its statement of licensing policy has been followed. Just by way of general background before we go into the details here, the key bits of the policy are 25.4, which expects that the licensing objectives will be supported by applications and that they will not have an adverse impact on existing high demands on emergency services during the carnival period. Paragraph 25.5 expects that applicants will include how they will control the numbers of people at the venue. They will give details about stewarding and security arrangements and other control measures, and the risk assessment and draft management plan will be provided. 25.5 expects pre-application discussion with police before submitting a TEN, and 25.7 suggests that it would be expected that the applications come in 6 weeks in advance to allow for proper liaison and planning. And those are the concerns that didn't happen here. And our concern in particular is with regards to one of the factors that we look at. We look at, first of all, just as a way of generic point, the more crowded an area is, the more likely it is that certain offences, such as sexual offences, pickpocketing, and so on, will take place, and incidents of violence that just result from people bumping into each other, rubbing each other up the wrong way when they are inebriated. And we've submitted, for the purpose of this hearing, the crimes figures. They were reported crimes from last year's carnival for Sector 2, which we accept is a much larger area than just this road. But it shows that there were 98 incidents in that sector last year. And they were a mixture of things. About a third of those were drug related. There were a number of thefts, and I won't go through them, and assaults and so on. And the real concern is that not only is there an intrinsic point that the more crowds are congregating, the more susceptible they are to these behaviours, and of course the thieves and predators and so on are deliberately taking advantage of more crowded areas. But also it impedes the ability of police to respond quickly when they have to get through crowds. There's also a point about public safety, and we're concerned about pinch points, about crushing and flow of people. So those are our key concerns. Now, in respect to the specifics here, we've got premises where we're told that there aren't any measures that they're taking in the street. The issue is that around sound systems, this, as we've heard, this site is immediately adjacent to one of the sound systems, which is called High Grade. Crowds are attracted to congregate and hang around sound systems because they're enjoying the music. In any event, if the more trading venues there are in immediate proximity, the more difficult it is, the more likely it is that people will be congregating. There'll be more issues around the flow and the dynamics there, and it's encouraging people to hang out in that immediate area for longer or more than they otherwise would have done. It's intrinsically difficult for someone at the side of the road to control queues and so on of people trying to access their trading site, and this TEN has not provided us with assurance that this will not be adding to the issues. And so in a nutshell, that is our concern. There is this secondary point around whether or not a street trading license is required. We will leave that, I think, for the licensing authority in respect of any issues around that. But just on the key points around safety, we haven't really got any measure in place, and nor does it seem to us to be that there can be much that they can do in this particular situation to prevent there being a blockage along the pavement next to or around where those barriers are that's going to impede the flow of people and cause difficulties. They are relying on measures that the general carnival are taking, and that isn't appropriate. We would say that is then putting additional burden on others. So I think in a nutshell, those are my submissions, and therefore we would invite the committee to serve a counter notice here.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask anyone who speaks, including our legal advisor, to please put on their camera. I think it's only fair. Any questions from David Lindsay? Councillor Lindsay?
I'm just putting on my camera, Madam Chairman. The answer is no. All my questions have been answered, and equally the questions that were asked by others have also been answered to my satisfaction. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Councillor Wade?
No further questions.
Okay, I have no further questions. Mr. Horatio, can you please put on your camera and ask any questions that you have, if you have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no further questions.
Okay. Now the premises user, I see Ms. Dorset, you have a question. Please turn on your camera. It is on. Okay, thank you.
Just one question. We talked about the selling of alcohol would be an obstruction to that area. So how would you control if people decide to sit there and gather there anyway, just sitting down? How would you control that? What would be the difference of somebody coming in and consuming and selling alcohol and moving on to people that just sit outside and just hang out there? Because that also happens in Carnival, where people just sit.
Like I said, on the doorsteps.
And they will gather on the doorsteps, and it all revel out over onto the streets. I believe the police have no power to move them because they're not doing anything. However, in your eyes, it may be an obstruction. So how do we intend to police that? And how is that any different to somebody selling alcohol and then moving on? It's not a bar, and unlike a football match, and unlike any in a gig, people buy their drink, they dance, they move on. So, but what you may or may have here is people congregating outside, and that becomes an obstruction in itself. In terms of when we talk about emergency services coming through, emergency services will come through on the road. They're not coming through on the pavement. When the police patrol and march through, they march through on the road. Then if there's an incident that needs to be done, or there's somebody that is injured, or there's an accident, the first place that they're going to bring that injured person is to this area here that has free access to wait for the paramedics or whoever to come to assist them.
Okay, thank you. Have you any question? You're supposed to ask a question.
That was the question.
My question is, did the police and the council sit down and work out the crowd situation and discuss how, if there was an incident, how the ambulance or the police is going to get through the crowd? Because what I'm saying is, if that was the case, then there wouldn't have been there's too many stores on the streets, which is allocated by the council. Not people who have 10's license don't create the kind of obstruction that the people that are serving on the streets create.
Okay, let's have Mr. Graham can answer your question.
I think on the specifics, if the committee finds it helpful to discuss some of the wider issues around how the police react, I shall pass that to PC Caldiness. But just on the point, the question whether we liaise with the council and with the organisers, yes, that's the point I was making, that the TENs that come in at this late stage are not part of that process.
The time we apply that.
But I should.
You keep saying it's late. The closing date for the 10 was when? The 10th of August?
Yeah, I don't know if it's helpful just to explain. Obviously, there's a legal limit on how close to a date. I think it's 5 days off the top of my head. But you can do a late, what the legislation calls a late 10. So legally, you're allowed to submit it. But the point is that the borough, for understandable reasons, given the scale of the carnival and the challenges involved, has, as a matter of policy, a presumption that if you don't submit 6 weeks ahead, then you're in breach of the policy. But obviously, the further ahead you can have discussions with the police, with everyone else involved, the more likely it is that any issues can be addressed and ironed out in liaison. Where we can, the police are supportive of businesses, and there are something like, I think, 52 this year TENs that came in that we didn't object to. The particular concern here is that you're right near a sound system, and there's issues around crowding, which we think it's all cumulative, obviously, as you've explained. But it's a particular issue here, and it's adding to an issue. I'm not saying it may not have been capable of being dealt with some other sort of planning. It's not immediately obvious to us what that could have been, but if we had an ability to plan earlier, it might have been possible to move the sound system or something. But we are where we are.
Okay,
Well, yeah.
I think it's time to move on to the environmental health subjections. And then, Ms. Dorset, you may have some questions for them that are specific. Mr. Richardson?
You talk, Mike.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Yeah, I won't take up too much of our time. I know we're running quite long now, and I don't want to repeat what Mr. Graham has already said. But what I would like to say is that obviously there are well publicised concerns in the press, by the police, by the Commissioner of the Police, by the Mayor of London, in relation to crowd safety at Notting Hill Carnival over the past couple of years, and especially so this year. When we're looking at the 10 applications, like Mr. Graham said, there's been a number of 10s applications that have been passed with no objections, or that have been objected to, and then objections have been withdrawn because they've been able to iron out the issues. And we look at each of these 10s on its own merit on a case-by-case basis. However, in doing that, we are considering the wider context across the whole of the carnival footprint, specifically in relation to public safety, especially. As the applicant said, not so much public nuisance, carnival's noisy, we all know that. It's true, and what they say, that we don't have any sort of specific evidence that a 10 at this location has previously undermined any sort of public safety and caused a specific incident. We simply don't have that information, but we're not trying to maintain the status quo of previous carnivals. We're not trying to say, well, this was fine last year or the year before, whatever. We're looking to improve every year the safety of the public based on previous carnivals and going forward. So saying that we provide sort of a marginal gain in each particular location, even if it only makes a street 2% safer, 3% safer, it's something that we need to look at to secure as sort of a part of the wider desire across the whole of Carnival and to promote the licensing objectives. Like's already been said by Mr. Graham, this application's in a very congested area of the Carnival. It presents an obstruction to the highway due to people queuing onto the road, waiting for drinks, getting the drinks, and I know the applicant said people move on, but people don't always move on, and things like that. If we could please quote, I think it's page 19 of the agenda pack. I just want to highlight, I know it's been said, I think it's in PC Janelle's objection there, that bottom image, you can see, I know it's not 100% accurate, but you can see exactly how close the high grade sound system is, and also Virgo International just up the road. It is incredibly close. There will be a lot of people there, it will be congested, and in our opinion, adding the sale of alcohol is just going to draw people and keep people in that area rather than people moving on. And it's for that reason that pushing into the drive for wider improvements in safety and to promote licensing objectives, we believe that this 10 should not be allowed. I'll leave it there and I'll be open for questions.
Thank you very much. That was a very thorough submission. Committee members, do you have any additional questions?
No.
No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Legal advisor, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are no further questions.
Thank you. And the premises user, do you have any questions of the environmental health officer?
No, as you're talking about the wider carnival and press, no, nothing.
I've got a question to say. Everything that he...
A question.
Only a question, yes, it's a question.
Okay,
Yeah, don't worry,
all right.
I've got a question.
Can you turn it into a question? No. Okay, because unfortunately we don't have any summing up today. Okay, I'd like to ask our legal advisor to deal with any further queries that he may have. Please turn on your camera if you're going to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to confirm that, as you know, the experts are the police when it comes to matters of crime and disorder, and the test is the promotion of the crime and disorder licensing objective. Likewise, in relation to the environmental health department, the public safety licensing objective must be met. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do our licensing officers have anything to add?
Nothing to add from licensing. Thank you for the opportunity, Chair.
Okay, And one question I had of the licensing officers is that Mr. Mills said that licensing has a table or a stand right over there. As chair of licensing, I never knew about that. Where is licensing sitting on that street, if at all?
Thank you, Chair. I'm not aware that there is a position there in which licensing officers may gather. During my time at working at Carnival, there is a base that all officers use, but it's not that location, is my understanding. It may be within the area, but directly on the street there, I'm not aware of it being there.
Okay, I just wanted that clarified. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Do our governance?
Can I just point out something?
Sure.
The where they gather is actually the entrance is on St. Lawrence Terrace. The building itself is on Oxford Gardens, and there's a front door on Oxford Gardens, and there's also a side entrance on St. Lawrence Terrace. That is the building where all the inspectors gather. Can you check that, please?
Chair, if I may come in here.
Yes, please.
It's potential that the school is used, but my understanding was it was sort of placed as they gather on the street, or some sort of furniture built on the street. That's not the case. Staff may enter and exit through a gate, but they certainly wouldn't gather at the gate, to do anything formal in that sense. It may be that there's a queue to get into the school, but they would not be sort of observing from that position. They would be walking around the footprint, is my understanding.
Right. Okay, anything else? Governance officers, do you have anything to add?
Nothing from us. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We've reached the end of the meeting. We're going to adjourn for 10 minutes. We'll retire and we will be back in 10 minutes. It is now 10:42. And officers, can you please inform our next meeting that it will be starting at 11 o'clock as opposed to 10:45. Thank you, and we will be right back.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay. The committee has considered objections from the police and environmental health to a temporary event notice, which has been given by Mr. John Mills for the sale by retail of alcohol off the premises at the above premises on Sunday, 24 August and Monday, 25 August, both days noon till 7 p.m. for a maximum of 4 people at any moment, any time. The committee has considered the committee papers and the submissions made by the parties, both orally and in writing. In reaching its decision, the committee has had regard to the relevant legislation, the Secretary of State's guidance, and the authority's statement of licensing. In summary, the committee decided, after taking into account all the individual circumstances of the case and the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety licensing objectives, we have decided to issue a counter notice under Section 105 of the Licensing Act 2003 for the event. This notice means permission for the licensable activities requested in the temporary event notice has not been approved. The committee decided that following the temporary event notice would, in this instance, undermine the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety licensing objectives, and it determined to issue a counter notice under Section 105 of the Licensing Act. A copy of the reasoned decision will be provided without undue delay. The premises user, if the premises user would like to appeal against this decision, such appeal must be made to the magistrate's court within 21 days from the date of notification of the final decision, but in any event, no later than 5 working days before the start of the proposed temporary event. I would like to suggest to the applicant that next year he puts his application in earlier after liaising with Notting Hill Carnival and with the council. It would be very helpful and clear up any questions that he may have. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Thank you, councilors, officers, police, for a very valuable meeting.
Can I ask, so we can still sell food? It was a food and it was alcohol license. Alcohol refused, but can we still sell food?
That's a good question.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. Sure, it'll be very good food. But the Mr. Chance and also Mr. Phelan, can you comment on that? Would they still need a food price, or can they just sell it in the foreyard?
Because
this application was for the sale of alcohol. Food isn't relevant here, so they would need to seek guidance from licensing, but I rather suspect they can, provided any permissions are obtained.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it just has to comply with all of the food regulations, health and safety, of course. So thank you. I wish you good luck with that. Okay, thank you. We will now,
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
please have a very safe carnival, everyone.